are waiting there in the roads in order to welcome Caesar. So they are going to celebrate Caesar's victory in the first scene, that is the opening of the scene. Brutus and Cassius are left behind. So these are Romans who used to support Pompey first. Now with no other go, they have to support Caesar. Violent storm is seen by two people in two different ways. So Casca sees this storm as a bad omen at Rome. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shalini, Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today we are here for the second part of Julius Caesar that we started in the previous session, which is prescribed by University of Mysuru for 4th Sem B.C.A. Today we are going to understand the summary of Julius Caesar. In the previous session, we had understood about the background, the structure and the character analysis. So let us start with the summary today. Let us see what is there in today's session before we enter the session today. So in today's session, you will be understanding the summary of Act 1, that is opening, Act 2, that is growth and development of the problem. We'll also understand the summary of Act 3, that is the assassination part. Then we'll understand Act 4, that is fall. Then the last act, that is catastrophe. What are the after effects? So these are the acts you are going to understand today. So let us start with the first act now. The first act, scene 1. So this act 1 gives us the character of all the characters whatever are there in this play. So we get to know all about the people who support Caesar and who are against Caesar. Initially, we get to know who are the people who are supporting Caesar. Little later part, we get to know about the people who are opposing Caesar here. This play opens with citizens of Rome who are celebrating Caesar's victory. Julius Caesar has now come to Rome. He has defeated Pompey and their sons, who was the earlier king over there. Pompey was the earlier king, the person who was ruling Rome over there. So Caesar has defeated Pompey and he is going to start his reign now, and people are waiting there in the roads in order to welcome Caesar. So they are going to celebrate Caesar's victory in the first scene, that is the opening of the scene. The tribunes, that is the, you can say the followers. Okay, so the tribunes, that is Flavius and Marullus. So they both tell the people whatever they are doing is wrong. That is because initially they were supporting Pompey and his sons, but later when Caesar defeated Pompey, they are now supporting Caesar. So whatever they are doing was wrong is being told by these two, Flavius and Marullus. They are telling to the people there. So then what do? They remind the citizens that these were the same people who supported Pompey first. So they were only doing that. Now they are the people who are supporting Caesar now. These people are trying to invoke a kind of ethics in the people's minds. Okay, so they are trying to tell them what is right, what is wrong. So Flavius actually suggests Marullus that they actually tear down all the flowers that was actually whatever decorations were made for the Caesar's statues. In various places Caesar statues were placed and decorations were made. So this Flavius suggests Marullus that he is feeling like tearing down all the decorations whatever was done. They just want to do it because this Caesar is going to keep them under fear. He is going to be a dictator. So that is what these people have started feeling. But what is Caesar actually, these people do not know. They only have in their mind that he has started attacking everywhere. He has started expanding his kingdom. So he is going to keep them under fear. He is going to keep them as slaves. He is going to be a dictator, is what these tribunes feel about Caesar. So when we move on to Act 1, Scene 2. So initially it was the opening scene. In that we have Scene 2 also. So Caesar comes there with his entourage. Entourage means the team. So as a part of a victory march, he comes there, including his wife Calpurnia. So now you know Caesar's wife is Calpurnia. We had understood about the characters in the previous session. Okay, so you already know that Calpurnia is Caesar's wife. So he comes with Calpurnia and also the loyal, confident Antony. Confidant, it is not confident, it is confidant. Confidant is a person who is trustworthy, who is considered to be very close to Caesar. Mark Antony was the confidant of Caesar. So he comes with those two and also few supporters. So he comes there. Then when he is arriving, there is a soothsayer. Soothsayer is a person who tells about the future. So there is a soothsayer and he calls out from the crowd of people saying, beware of the Ides of March. So he just calls out about that. So Ides of March is March 15th. So that day it is considered very important in the history of Rome. So he calls out like that. He just gives a warning. But just Julius Caesar is least bothered about it. He doesn't even care what that person is telling. He doesn't take it into his consideration at all. Soothsayer shouts and he doesn't even bother about it. The entourage leaves for some ceremonial race. So there is some race that is being held like as a mark of victory. To mark this victory, there is a race also that is being held. And who is left behind? Brutus and Cassius are left behind. So these are Romans who used to support Pompey first. Now with no other go, they have to support Caesar. So Brutus and Cassius, they are on one team and they are left behind. They start discussing few things here. Caesar and his entourage, they come back after the race. So they return after the race and Caesar tells Antony that Cassius looks little dangerous. Okay, his looks are not fine. He looks little dangerous is what Caesar tells about Cassius to Antony. But Antony somehow convinces Caesar that Cassius, he's a very good soldier, so you need not have to worry about it. So he tells that and they all leave. So after Caesar leaves that place, okay, Caesar tells Mark Antony and he leaves that place. After that, Casca tells Brutus and Cassius that Antony offered Caesar a crown and Caesar had refused it. Okay, so during that harvest festival, that time Antony had actually given Caesar, he offered Caesar a crown 3 times, but that time he had refused. Brutus and Cassius were unaware of it, but his follower, that is Casca, he tells them this fact. He's a kind of mediator, he's a kind of messenger between Caesar and Cassius and Brutus. So he tells them that this crown was rejected by Caesar. So maybe if had they discussed and had they asked about it, probably they would have found that Caesar was not interested in taking up the crown. But they did not do that. They started presuming about Caesar. They started thinking about Caesar in their own way. So they thought that he is a dictator. So now let us move on to the next, the second part of the scene 2. So there Casca also tells that Caesar fell down foamed at the mouth. So foamed at the mouth means he has some disease, okay, so kind of epilepsy fits. So he talks about that also. So that time Brutus confirms that he has the falling sick. So they did not have that name epilepsy, so it is nothing but the falling sickness he was talking about. So like they have observed Caesar in a detailed way, so that is the reason they were able to identify this falling sickness. Okay, so then Cassius, he is alone now. Brutus already leaves and Cassius is alone and he thinks how easily Brutus' noble nature can be manipulated. So here you can see over here, Casca just told that he was foamed at his mouth. Then Brutus already decided that he had falling sickness. Okay, he did not even think what must be the matter. He didn't even discuss anything of that sort. He just decides, he makes a decision in a haste to decide about Caesar. So this is noticed by Cassius. So Cassius thinks Brutus can be easily manipulated because he always takes decisions in a haste. So this is about scene 2, act 1, scene 2. Now we move on to scene 3 here in act 1 only. Next, Cassius meets Casca. So during a violent storm. So there is a violent storm that night and Cassius meets Casca there. So this violent storm is seen by 2 people in 2 different ways. So Casca sees this storm as a bad omen at Rome. But Cassius, he just rejects what he tells. He doesn't consider that as a bad omen. He compares that to the political turmoil that was going on in Rome. So there was some political agitation that was there, means the old king was defeated and there is a new king and people are finding it difficult to accept the new king, but they have to do it without any other way, without any other go. So that is what it is happening, is what this Cassius tells. Okay, so Casca tells it's a bad omen, but Cassius tells it is nothing but the turmoil that is going on in people's mind. So the violent storm also is actually it is an indication that there is something bad that is going to happen. So you can, this is a common factor in Shakespearean plays. You can see the presence of supernatural powers or maybe some omens like this which tell us something bad is going to happen. So this is very common feature in Shakespearean plays. So here also that is there. So Casca and Cassius now discuss this senators intending to crown Caesar the next day. So the next day, that is Ides of March, what is going to happen on the day when Caesar is going to be welcomed and Caesar is going to be crowned as the king. So in that Senate, so Senate is something like our parliament. So we have democracy, we have parliament, and they have senators over there. So there the senators, that means the people who are taking up power, something like ministers, so they decide to crown Caesar there. So Caesar will be taking up power the next day. Cassius speaks as if he is against it. Now they are all discussing, that is Cassius and Casca, they are discussing there during that violent storm, they are discussing there. But now Cassius tells that he is against it. He speaks like he is against it. He says that he has the support of the noblest Romans to stop Caesar. So he tells that he actually wants people to support. People are not ready to accept that. So Cassius already speaks about the political turmoil here, so that he links to the people's mindset. So he has the power of the people in order to stop Caesar is what he says. That means people are also against it. If I stop Caesar from taking the power or being crowned, then people will obviously support me is what he tells indirectly. So he tells he has the support of the noblest minded Romans in order to stop Caesar. Now they join hands with one of these Romans, that is Cinna. So there is one Roman, Cinna. In this play, there are two Cinnas who come. Okay, so one Cinna is a poet, the other one is the senator. Okay, so here they join hands with one of the Romans, that is Cinna, who was against Caesar taking up the power. So this comes in Act 1, Scene 3. So continuing here, Cassius gives him letters. Cassius actually had already prepared letters, whatever their plans are. So that he had already prepared, and he gives that which has the material that is against Caesar. He prepares that letter and he wants that to be thrown to Brutus' house. Before they go and visit Brutus' house, this has to reach Brutus, because Brutus' mind can be manipulated very easily. Fine, they going and telling that, it will take a very long time. But if that person is prepared, mentally prepared before they going and meeting him, then it would be easy for them to manipulate that. So before they go and meet Brutus, those papers were supposed to be thrown into Brutus' house. Now that is already done. So Casca says that with Brutus' involvement. So the reason what he cites in order to involve Brutus is that if at all Brutus is involved in their plan, then it is like everything will seem legal, because Brutus is one of the most respected person in Rome. So people respect Brutus and they all believed that he was good. So that's the reason they wanted to involve Brutus in this plan also. So they do that, and their crime, they wanted to show that as a virtue. Means the death of Caesar should have been shown as an advantage. That should have been a virtue. So they try to do this. They try to involve Brutus, and that's the reason they wanted him to be mentally prepared before they go and talk to him. Okay. So this comes under Scene 3 here. So now we move on to Act 2. So Scene 3, Act 1 is done. Now we move on to Act 2, that is Scene 1 over there. So Act 2 shows us what is the conflict. So Act 2 sets up the conflict. What happens in Act 2 is told over here. So it sets up the conflict, means what is the problem there, and makes it clear to us who is for Caesar and who is against Caesar, and also the reason why they are against and why they are for Caesar. So you get to know the for and against of Caesar in Act 2. So let us start with scene 1. Now Brutus is there in his orchard. He has received the papers. He is unable to sleep. So that agitation is going on in his mind. Now Cassius and Casca have met him. So he is clear that he is going to be involved in an assassination. So he is unable to sleep in his orchard. Orchard is more or less a kind of plantation when it comes to India. So in a soliloquy wherein a person speaks to himself. He is alone and he talks to himself. So that is soliloquy. He tells that the only way to stop Caesar from taking up the power is his death. So Brutus reads the letter. So Brutus now has read the letter that Casca and Cinna had thrown into his house. So he has already read it. His servants tells him that tomorrow was March 15, that is Ides of March. Whose servant? It is Brutus' servant. So he tells him tomorrow was March 15. So that was the day when Caesar would be crowned. And they also had decided to do it on Ides of March only. So he is in a kind of agitation now. Some worry is going on in his mind. So many men had arrived with half their faces buried in cloaks. So already there are many people other than Romans. They have not chosen Romans. Okay, the conspirators have not chosen Romans. They have brought people from outside who had buried their half of their face under the cloaks. That means they had covered their faces with cloaks. Okay, so then Brutus had these men, that is conspirators. So now who lets the conspirators in? The person who is believed by everybody, the person who is considered to be a noble person, the person under whose supervision any work would seem like a virtue. So that person has led these conspirators into Rome, that is into the Senate house. He is going to lead them. So Cassius introduces the rest of the conspirators. Now Cassius was the only person known to Brutus. Other than that, the other conspirators are not known to Brutus. All others are introduced by Cassius to Brutus. Now all the men come inside. Cassius starts introducing those conspirators to Brutus. Now everybody has come inside to carry out the plan here. So this was Act 2, Scene 1. Continuing. So Cassius tells Brutus to swear an oath. So whatever work they do, whatever new plan they take up, they are supposed to swear an oath. But here, this is not a legal work what they are doing. So Cassius tells Brutus to swear an oath, but he doesn't agree for that. Brutus tells that he believes, like whatever Brutus' belief was, so he tells out that an oath is unnecessary when they are supposed to behave like Romans. Now, this oath is not at all required. Why? Because they are supposed to behave as Romans. So, when they have decided that, why again take an oath? They are not Romans, they are supposed to behave like Romans, then why are they supposed to take that oath? Is what he tells. So, Cassius argues that Antony also should be killed. Cassius argues that Antony, who is the confidant of Caesar, also should be killed. But Brutus says, no, that should not happen. Okay, so he rejects that stand. There is no idea where why Cassius tells Antony also to be killed. Maybe because he is a supporter of Caesar, but Brutus somehow rejects that. Their aim was only to kill Caesar, but they didn't want to kill Antony. So that's why Brutus stands for that. He rejects what stand Cassius has taken. So now they arrange to accompany Caesar to the Capitol the next day. Now they decide who has to do what work. So now there should be one person who has to go and bring Caesar from his house to the Senate house. That is to the place where this crowning will take place. That is the Capitol. Okay, to the place where this crowning will happen, that is called as Capitol, and there somebody should escort him. So that is what they decide. Now they plan everything and the conspirators leave that place. So they are in Rome only, but they leave that place where they are planning for. Then Portia, Brutus' wife, you already know. So Portia, Brutus' wife, is worried that something is going on in her husband's mind. So till date, Brutus had shared everything with Portia. So he used to tell all the plans, he used to tell whatever he is going to do, everything to Portia. But this time he has not told her. So she says, you have some sick offense within your mind. So she tells him something is worrying you in your mind. So she uses the word sick offense. Within your mind. She actually begs him to tell what it is. Brutus didn't want to tell it to her now on. He tells her that he will explain to her later. So I'll just tell you later, he says, and he just keeps quiet. But she knows something is worrying her husband to the core. So this is in Act 2, Scene 1. Now we'll move on to Scene 2. Now there is a storm that is already happening. Now this storm rages at Caesar's house. So you can understand that something bad is going to happen. This is an omen. This is a bad omen. That is, this storm is a bad omen. And here Caesar also has a troubled night. That side Brutus cannot sleep. This side Caesar, looking at the storm, he is unable to sleep because Calpurnia had dreamt something. What is that? It is actually a prophetic dream, and she had dreamt thrice about her husband's murder. So she had dreamt that the statue of Caesar was a fountain of blood. So it was spitting out blood. It was like that. So Caesar believes that he is stronger than his fate. Okay, he believes nothing can beat him. So you can see the arrogant behavior of Caesar. He is not humble at all. You can see the arrogant behavior of Caesar here. You can see how greedy he has become, how he feels that he is stronger than anything else. So like that. So he tells danger knows full well that Caesar is more dangerous than he. So he tells to himself that even danger knows that it is less powerful than Caesar. That means Caesar is more powerful than anything else in this world. So he is talking like that. So he orders the priest to make a sacrifice. Means you also believe, right, whenever something bad is happening to you, you make some sacrifice and you clear that a bad omen off, isn't it? So like that only, he also tells a priest to make a sacrifice. Okay, so that day. And upon Calpurnia's request, he agrees to stay at home the next day. So the next day, he agrees to stay back at home, and the next day, priests also will perform some kind of ritual wherein they offer a sacrifice and they just prevent that bad thing, whatever was supposed to happen on Caesar. So everything is set. He tells the priests also. So now what happens, this is the next day now. So he is not able to sleep. Everything is done. Calpurnia stops him from going to the Senate. He agrees to stay back. Now Decius, who is one of the conspirators, comes to escort Caesar to the Capitol. So what is his name? Decius. Okay. So Decius comes there. He comes and calls Caesar and he tells him, let's go. Now what does Caesar do? So Caesar tells that he is not willing to come. So what does he tell there? He tells Decius about the dream of Calpurnia. So what does he say? She saw my statue which like a fountain with 100 spouts. So many places, that is, it is spitting out blood. Okay, spouts did run pure blood, and many lusty Romans. So Romans who are now under the rule of Caesar came smiling and did bathe their hands in it. So they are washing their hands with that. They are very happy. Lusty Romans who are very happy, who were waiting for that to happen. So he explains that over there. Okay. So let me just tell you why I have given these quotations here. These are very important for you. This may be given for annotations. So just go through some quotations which are noted over here. These are very important. So here he talks about the dream. Now, Decius informs Caesar about the plan to crown him in the Senate. So, all senators had decided to crown him in the Senate. Now, he talks about that. So, this was enough for Caesar to change his mind. Now, he tells the senators have already planned to crown you as the king. Now, if you don't come just because of a dream, then they will think that you are a coward person. So, since he uses that word cowardly, that was enough for Caesar to change his mind. So, this was enough for him to change his mind. The conspirators, they come to escort him to the Capitol. Decius comes inside. The other conspirators are waiting outside. They start escorting him. Even though Calpurnia tells so many times, he doesn't listen to her. He just tells that it is not at all. He is least bothered about it and he leaves with the conspirators. So, here Archimedes reads the petition and decides to give Caesar a warning against the conspirators. So, somewhere this happens. Okay, so he reads the petition and he decides he has to give a warning to to Caesar against the conspirator. So, something is going on. So, I want Caesar to stay back is what Archimedes thinks, and he says that he will give a warning to Caesar. When it comes to Act 2, Scene 3. So now it is the next day. Okay, so Brutus tells Portia about the plot. Now he has revealed whatever is there in his mind. She struggles between, that is Portia, struggles between her fears for her husband. She is worried what might happen to her husband. That is one thing. And she is also worried that she may put out that secret. She may speak out that secret what Brutus has told her. So she is struggling between those two. So she is not able to keep that in her mind. She is not able to put it out also. At the same time, she is worried about her husband also, because whatever he is doing is not right. Anything may go wrong. So her husband may face some problems is what her worry is. Again, Soothsayer comes there. When Caesar is walking out of the house, again Soothsayer comes to warn Caesar, but Portia questions him. Okay, so again when Soothsayer comes and he was about to warn Caesar, that time Portia comes in between and she questions what is it. Okay, she starts questioning him. Now we move on to Act 3. So the Act 2 is over there. Now we come to Act 3. So what happens in Act 3 here? Act 3 reveals all the drama. So it has now reached the peak. Okay, so it reveals the drama. By now all of us are aware what are the motives of those conspirators and what are their actions, what is going to happen. So in this act, we see how plans succeed and how plans fail also. So at the same time, two things happen here. Plans succeed also, plans fail also. So let us see what is that. So there is only one plan that is going on, isn't it? That is the assassination. That is successful. Then how does that become a failure? So let us see now. Caesar now comes to the Capitol. He is almost there near the Senate house. He is about to be crowned now. He observes that Ides of March has arrived. So now he sees that it is March 15th. He just looks at the date. It is March 15th. Now the soothsayer, whoever was there in the crowd, he tells him that they are not over yet. So he just tells they are not over yet, means the Ides of March is not over yet, till it is continuing. So that day still exists. Okay, so he points out that. But here he refuses to read that warning what Artemidorus had written. So he didn't want to read that at all. He just leaves it away and he goes further. So Cassius, at one moment when he was given that warning, so Artemidorus' warning was given there, that time Cassius only for a moment panics that their plan might have been revealed, might have been discovered. But Brutus assures him nothing has happened. So here Caesar doesn't even care about anything. That is because all these are happening under the supervision of Brutus. Now he has also trusted Brutus because he was the magistrate. He is supposed to be one of the noblest persons in Rome. That's the reason he also trusts Brutus. Now he is there in the Capitol to take the power over. The conspirators surround Caesar now. So he enters the Senate house, they surround Caesar and they pretend to kneel before Caesar. Okay, they all just bend down. They are about to kneel down in order to show him that they are all sitting before him. So Caesar is stabbed by the conspirators. So at this time, this one Mark Antony was also there, but he was taken out by one of the conspirators. So he just goes out to look at the crowd, and that time here everybody stabs Caesar. Had Antony been there, probably this might not have happened. They would have fought against the conspirators, but Antony was not there in the scene. Now Brutus was the last person to strike. Okay, so this gave a shock to Caesar. So he trusted Brutus like anything, and for Caesar it was a betrayal of friendship. So now conspirators declare publicly that tyranny is dead. Tyranny, a dictator, you can say. Okay, so they declare publicly, they shout that tyranny is dead. Brutus calls everybody to bathe their hands with the blood of Caesar. This is exactly like Calpurnia had in her dream. Okay, so she also had seen few lusty Romans washing their hand, that is bathing their hand in that pure blood of Caesar. So here also the same thing happens. So Brutus calls everybody to bathe their hands. Antony, who was not in the scene, now comes back. Now Brutus sees him, but Antony is scared whether to enter or not. Then Antony is promised by Brutus that you are safe, nothing will happen to you. Because earlier Antony also was supposed to be killed by Cassius. Cassius gives that idea, but Brutus rejects that. Now Brutus assures Antony that nothing will happen to you, you may come. And Antony comes here and he shakes hands with the murderers. Now they are not conspirators, they are murderers because they have killed somebody. Now Antony shakes hands with the murderers. Now you think of Antony, you feel like he was also a confidant, isn't it? He was also very close to Caesar, but he now is joining hands with the murderers. Now, what is his motive? We are not able to understand what is the motive of Antony. So now we can see that he is shaking hands with the murderers. Now Brutus tells him about what he is going to speak in the Caesar's funeral speech. Okay, so Brutus tells Antony about this. So Antony also requests a chance to speak in the funeral speech. So even he wanted to speak, but Brutus is all prepared to tell whatever he wanted to tell. So Brutus had already decided to speak against Caesar. At the same time, Antony also requests for a chance to speak during the funeral. Cassius tells Brutus, again this is the second time Cassius is advising something about Antony. But Brutus doesn't agree at all. Cassius tells Brutus not to give him a chance. But Brutus disagrees. He rejects his stand and he tells Antony to speak. But there was one condition. What was the condition? Brutus would speak first. After that, Antony would speak. Okay, so now based on this condition, he has allowed him to speak. So Antony agrees for that. It's perfectly fine. You speak first or I speak first. That doesn't matter. I want to speak in the funeral speech, he says. So Brutus also agrees for that. Now all the murderers leave from that place. They just go out to the public, that is to the crowd, to speak over there, to tell them about the death of Caesar. They wanted to declare about the death of Caesar. Now only Antony is left with the body of Caesar. So he is left there. Now you can see the true colors of Antony. He has shook hands with the murderers, but now you can see he starts weeping. Okay, Antony starts weeping and speaks of revenge. So there he promises Caesar that he is going to take a revenge for this death, for this loss of his friend. So this is the actual Antony. There when he shook hands, he just wanted a chance to speak during the funeral, that is to give a funeral speech. So that's why he shook hands. Now he speaks of revenge. He reveals that Caesar's great nephew, that is he is considered to be the adopted son, that is Octavius is considered to be the adopted son of Caesar, and he is coming to Rome. He doesn't know about the death of Caesar, but he wanted to come to Rome in order to witness the crowning ceremony of Caesar. So he reveals during his death, that is when he was left with the body of Caesar, he reveals that his great nephew Octavius is returning to Rome. So this was scene 1 of Act 3. Now we move on to scene 2. During Caesar's funeral, this crowd demands an explanation from the murderers. So they want to know why Caesar was killed. So they ask them. Then Brutus speaks first as agreed upon. So Brutus starts speaking first. What does he say? He puts forth all the arguments. He speaks very logically. He puts forth one argument, he gives reason for that. He tells why Caesar was called as a tyranny, why Caesar was considered as a dictator. For that he gives a reason. So this way he speaks logically, he puts forth few points and gives some reason for that. So he also asks the crowd if they wanted to be free now, how they are now, or if they wanted to be slaves with Caesar's rule when he was alive. So he is questioning the crowd, putting forth all the deeds of Caesar. He is questioning the crowd whether they are ready to accept the situation now or they wanted Caesar only. He just wants to convince the people that whatever they have done is right. So he speaks over there. Crowd on the other side, they support Brutus. Now he has put forth all the arguments logically. He has given reason also for that. Now they are all on his side. Now they support Brutus' crowning. Now Brutus already is considered to be one of the noble persons in among the people of Rome. So now he is to be crowned. So people were all ready to support the crowning of Brutus. Now Antony enters with Caesar's body. He speaks with lot of emotion. That time he speaks about the will also. Okay, so he comes with the body, he speaks with lot of emotion, reminds that crowd like what are the qualities of Caesar, how loving Caesar was towards Romans. So he reveals all that. Intentionally he calls, that is Antony calls Brutus as an honorable man. He doesn't want to let go, he doesn't want people to change their minds about Brutus, but he intentionally calls him like that, but at the same time he talks about Caesar in a very emotional way. So Antony reveals each and every wound on Caesar's body. So given in a very detailed way how Brutus speaks. So at the same time here, it is also given in detail how Antony reveals the wounds in Caesar's body. That I mean to say, Antony is telling people how he was stabbed to death, how like what kind of cheating was that on Caesar. So he tells everything about that, and he next reveals Caesar's will. Okay, so will, like somebody writes something at the time of death, like which property should go to whom and all. So that is called as a will, right? So he reveals Caesar's will there. So what has Caesar written in that? He has written that he had left his money and land. So whatever he has occupied now, okay, whatever he had gathered from Pompey and Sons, all that money and land he had given it for people of Rome only. He had given it back. So whoever may be the king, that has to go back to Roman people only is what he had written. So all the money and all the land was supposed to go back to Romans only. Okay, so Antony wins the crowd. Now in that competition, that is Brutus and Antony's speech, Antony wins the crowd. Now this crowd has turned into an angry mob. Now they were supporting Brutus. After Antony's speech, they start opposing the conspirators' side. They actually flee from the mob. The conspirators, they escape from the mob because they had already turned into an angry mob. So now anytime they might be beaten to death. So mob is huge, isn't it? So conspirators are only 10 or 11. So they start running away. Now his body was supposed to be burnt in a holy place. So Caesar's body was taken there to that holy place to be burnt, to that the burial ground. A servant announces that Octavius and Lepidus, they have arrived in Rome. Okay, so they both have arrived in Rome. They say that now Caesar's team is actually stronger now. Okay, so now conspirators are running, just keep that in mind. When we go to scene 3, that is the next scene, the angry mob chase Cinna. So now comes Cinna. He is not the conspirator, he is a poet. Okay, so they actually chase Cinna, they mistake him for to be a conspirator and they start chasing him. He tries to convince the mob. He tries to convince the mob that he is a poet, he is not the conspirator, but still the mob shouts that tear him into pieces, he is a conspirator. Now, there is no weapon in the hands of mob. Okay, nobody has any weapon, but they are too angry. Now, though Cinna tells that he is a poet, nobody cares. Okay, they only have that misconception in their mind. They are not ready to think and act. So now they beat him to death. With bare hands, Cinna is torn into pieces. He is beaten to death. Okay, so that is the state of mind that mob was in. This is shown in Act 3 in scene 3. Now we move on to Act 4, scene 1. So what happens in this act? So that is given over here. So what does Act 4 tell us? It sets up the battle. Now battlefield is set. Who are there in the battle? There is Brutus, Cassius on one side, and now we have Octavius and Mark Antony on the other side. So Antony has promised for a revenge. He has promised with the body of that Caesar, isn't it? So now you can see it sets up the battle. Here this act lets us know situations that change and also the impact the characters have on them. So what these changes in situation on these characters. So that can be seen over here. So here you can see Octavius, Lepidus and Antony. So these three decide to form the triumvirate. Triumvirate, it is actually three people forming a senate. That is called as a triumvirate. So it is Octavius, Lepidus and Antony. So they decide to do it. They gather in Antony's house to discuss about what has to be done next. So they also discuss that these conspirators should die. Now they have decided to take a revenge. Antony has called them to their house and to his house, and they decide to take a revenge against the conspirators. So this Antony sends Lepidus to fetch Caesar's will. Okay, so that time Antony speaks very low of Lepidus with Octavius. He feels that Antony feels that Octavius and Antony are equal, whereas Lepidus is a very weak soldier. Okay, so he must be taught and bid go forth. So we'll just tell Lepidus that you need a lot of training and we will send him away, is what he says. He is a barren spirited fellow, he says. That means he doesn't have that enthusiasm. Okay, he doesn't love his job. He has to be taught everything. He has to be handheld in everything, is what Antony feels. But Octavius actually supports, he speaks for Lepidus. He tells him he is a tried and salient soldier. So he tells that he is a very brave soldier. Tried means very experienced. Okay, so he is a very tried soldier. Now after this person, that is this Lepidus returns, they discuss about Brutus and Cassius. Now they are preparing to fight. They are the conspirators, even they want to rule Rome. Now they both have joined together and they decide to fight. So Antony and Octavius, they decide to team up an army, build an army, and they decide to face them. So this comes under Act 4. In scene 2, Brutus waits for Cassius in the rebel camp. So Cassius has to come. Brutus is waiting for him to meet him. So Lucius actually comments about Cassius, for which Brutus agrees. So he gives some comments about Cassius. Lucius gives some comments about Cassius and he agrees for that. He feels yes, that must be correct. Now Cassius arrives. He directly accuses Brutus. He is very angry. He takes everything, like now he is upset. Cassius is upset that he has let Antony live first. Second thing is he has let Antony speak over there in the funeral. So that time Cassius is very angry because Brutus did not agree to what Cassius said. So he is very upset. He accuses Brutus for wronging him. You did not accept to what I said. See now what has happened, is what he starts telling. Now Brutus didn't want to show that they have some difference in front of everybody. Those people get to know your difference, then they will take advantage of it. So what Brutus tells, he calls him to his tent. Come, let us speak separately. He takes him and he goes there. Okay, so he takes Cassius to his tent. The argument continues. So it escalates. Then political accusations and all start. So it starts with Antony's speech in the funeral. During that funeral, then Antony being let out freely to be alive along with Caesar. Cassius wanted to kill Antony, so that doesn't happen. So because of all these, it turns towards personal insults. So maybe you have some personal relationship with Antony and all, he says, and he starts accusing like that. So political accusations start becoming personal. Now Cassius offers Brutus his dagger, that is the knife or the long sword kind of thing which they keep to fight, dagger, to kill him. So he just gives him that, okay fine, you kill me. But Brutus doesn't do that. He just backs off. Okay, this is the only decision. He doesn't take it in a haste. So he backs off and they embrace as friends again. Now they think of what has to be done further. Now Brutus just goes back. He just tells, I can't kill you. He just backs off and they become friends again. Then scene 2 in Act 4, Brutus reveals the reason behind his anger. So what might be his anger? So Cassius scolds him. Brutus also scolds back. But what might be the reason Brutus is also angry? That is because Portia has committed suicide. Okay, so impatient of my absence. So Portia, that is Brutus was not there with Portia. So she was very impatient. She didn't know what would happen. She was too worried about the husband. So grief that young Octavius with Mark Antony, she knew these people were very strong, have made themselves strong. So had committed suicide. So this was the reason that she had committed suicide. She was doubtful that her husband will face them and win. So she has committed suicide. Brutus didn't want to speak much about Portia. He just changes the topic. He changes the topic to battle plans, how they had to attack and all he starts talking about. So Cassius suggests that they wait for, now see again Cassius is suggesting that they wait for the opponents to come there. Cassius tells Brutus that let them come here. Okay, let they themselves come here. We will not go there. We will not attack them, because by the time they come here, they'll all be tired. So we attacking them after they reach here, it will be very helpful. It will be very easy for us, he says. But now Brutus doesn't agree that also. So he doesn't want to take advantage of their situation. Okay, he just wanted to go and attack. So again Brutus takes a decision in a haste. So Brutus disagrees. He wanted to meet them in Philippi. Okay, so you must remember Cassius had already defeated Octavius once in the Battle of Philippi. Now Octavius has that revenge in him. He had decided to defeat Cassius over here. Okay, so now Brutus tells Cassius that he wanted to go and attack them and he wanted to meet them in that place called Philippi. Okay, so now what happens? Brutus is left alone. Cassius doesn't agree for that. Okay, so he just left the place. That time Caesar's ghost visits him. That time Caesar's ghost comes to this one Brutus and tells, art thou some god? Do you think yourself as a god? Some angel or some devil? Do you consider yourself as an angel or maybe some devil? Means the ghost of Caesar is asking Brutus, do you consider yourself as a superpower? That makes my blood cold. That means making somebody's blood cold is to kill. Okay, how could you kill me? My hair to stare, means hair and all, it actually stares, right? Like it stands still, it becomes still, right? So do you think yourself as some superpower so that you can kill me so easily? It warns him that they would meet again in Philippi. Now that ghost tells him that we are going to meet again in Philippi. Okay, so now Brutus is mentally weak, isn't it? So a ghost visiting and telling about it, so that makes him mentally weak. So Brutus wakes all his men. So whoever was sleeping there, he just wakes everybody and asks them to look at the ghost, ask them what has happened. But nobody has seen anything. That means ghost has visited only Brutus. Okay, so he was not able to think whether it is the ghost or whether it is his mind's whereabouts that is going on. Okay, so Brutus sends word to Cassius to be ready, to be ahead of him. Means you should be prepared before me to attack them, that is be prepared in the next morning. Okay, so this is what is there in Act 4, Scene 2. Now we move on to Act 5, that is the final act. So under this Scene 1, what does this act tell us about? Act 5 resolves the drama, that is whatever conflict that has happened, it resolves. So there is an end for everything. Caesar's murder is avenged. There is a revenge that is taken for Caesar's murder. Conspirators are shown their way. So all the conspirators meet some end. We get to know more about Brutus and Cassius. So we get to know more about these people. So this is the outline of this Act 5. Now let us start with Scene 1. So at Philippi, this Octavius and Antony, they briefly disagree over some issues. Okay, so some plans. So we can do this, we can do that. So there is some difference there. So Brutus and Cassius on this side, Brutus and Cassius enter with their armies. Okay, and they exchange insults. The leaders exchange insults, means they start scolding Octavius and Antony like that. Okay, so they do that, and the words they use are, when you while daggers hacked one another in the sides of Caesar, you showed your teeth like apes and fawned like hounds. So all these words they use as insults. So they start talking first. You might have watched this in Indian movies also, Kannada movies and all. So they start scolding first, they start abusing first, then they start fighting with weapons. Okay, Octavius and Antony, they start leading their army. They start scolding, that time they start leading their army. Brutus again comes back. He and Cassius discuss the after effects after the of their defeat. Now that day's battle is over. In the sense, they come with their army. These people just exchange insults and they go back to their tents. So what happens here? Brutus comes back. He and Cassius, they start discussing about the after effects of the defeat. What if they are defeated by Octavius and Antony? They start discussing about that. So Brutus tells him that he will not be taken as captive. He doesn't want to be taken as captive at all. So both the friends, they bid farewell. They say bye to each other and go to the battle. So how does Brutus say goodbye? Forever and forever farewell, Cassius. If we do meet again. So he is also doubtful because he knows Octavius and Antony's army is very strong. Why we shall smile? If not, why then this parting was well made? So do not worry about the grammar that is there, because we already know that Shakespeare has not gone to any grammar school. So his grammar was not so very perfect. We need to understand by the context. So now, if at all we meet again, we shall smile. If not, this parting is considered as the final one. So he tells that and they bid farewell to each other. That is in scene 1. Scene 2. Brutus now sends a message to Cassius that he can see possible weakness in Octavius' army and is planning for an attack. Now, Brutus was observing Octavius, so he has seen some weakness there and he wants to make an attack, is what he tells over there. So that is about scene 2. Scene 3. Cassius actually watches his troops escape from Antony's army. So Antony has come to Cassius' army only, and Cassius' army escapes from there. Now Cassius is left alone. Cassius hears that Antony has already entered his tent, so his camp. He doesn't even know whether it is true or not. He doesn't even go to check that, but he doesn't want to be taken as captive. Okay, so he foresees his defeat, to anticipate his defeat, because he doesn't have an army. Now he is left all alone, but Antony has come with the army. Okay, so now he foresees his defeat and anticipates his death. Now he decides that either I'll be taken as a captive or maybe he'll come and kill me if I try to escape. So he foresees that. He notes it is his birthday. So we can understand that it is his birthday. He uses these words, where I did began, there shall I end. So he had started from that day. He was born on that day. He is ending that day only. So what does he mean by that? So he gives his sword to his servant Pindarus. So Cassius gives his sword to Pindarus and he asks him to kill him. Okay, he wanted him to kill him. This good sword, he's talking about the sword that ran through Caesar's bowels, means he had stabbed, right? Bowels, he had stabbed it there. Search his bosom, that means he had just stabbed it upwards and it had gone to till his heart. So he is talking about his sword like that. So with the same sword, you can kill me, he says. So Pindarus kills Cassius and he flees from that place. He just runs away from that place. Now, here Titanus, the army officer of Brutus and Cassius, he actually lays the victory wreath, okay, that is sent by Brutus on his body. Now what does Brutus do? He was planning for an attack and he tells him that there is a weakness and we are going to win. So keeping that in mind, he sends a victory wreath. But this side Cassius is dead. So now this Titanius, who is the army officer of Cassius and Brutus, he keeps that victory wreath only on his body and kills himself with the sword. Now Titanus also kills himself with the sword. Okay, so Brutus comes back. Now there was no message from Cassius from this end. So Brutus comes back and sees these bodies. So he looks at Titanius and Cassius' body. Now he says the spirit of Caesar walks abroad. So he tells that now Caesar has already taken a revenge. Now these people are dead. I am left all alone, he thinks. So for this he considers Caesar's the ghost only as the reason. So he promises Cassius that he will find time to mourn. Now he has no time to mourn because he has to go and fight with Octavius. So he will find time to mourn. He speaks fondly about his friend. So he speaks good about Cassius. Now, like whoever is left behind has to speak good about that person who is gone. So he also does the same thing. He promises that he will find time to mourn and he also speaks good about him. Going to the next scene, Brutus rallies his men and he exits. So he just talks to all the people, whoever is present there, then he goes away. So Lucilius pretends to be Brutus and is captured. Now Lucilius pretends to be Brutus and he was captured by this Octavius and his that is his team, that is Antony. Okay, so Antony comes there, he knows who Brutus is, he knows about Lucilius also. Antony praises him. Antony praises Lucilius' bravery and tells him he is captured, not dead. Okay, so he is not killed, he is just captured there. He tells his men, Antony tells the people, whoever has captured Lucilius, to treat him very respectfully. That is because I had rather have such men my friends than enemies. Though Lucilius is his enemy, because of his bravery, he tells the people who had captured Lucilius that he is supposed to be kept as my friend. I prefer these people, such people, to be my friend than my enemies, he says. So that is the respect he gives to Lucilius, that is his bravery. Though he is his enemy, he appreciates his bravery. Okay, that should be the mindset of a very good soldier. So Antony you can consider as a very good soldier. So he does that. Coming to the last scene, that is scene 5, Brutus asks his men to kill him, but they refuse. Brutus tells his men to kill him, okay, like Cassius did for himself, but they refuse. So he talks about the aim of Caesar's ghost. Now he tells the men about Caesar's ghost, saying his own hour has come. So he tells that Caesar's ghost is about to attack him. He is going to take a revenge. Cassius is already dead now. Now his hour has come. That means his time has come to leave this place. He alarms, whatever alarms were there, they actually ring. So his men urge Brutus to escape because Octavius has entered there. Whoever his supporters were there, they tell him to escape from that place. But what does he do? He bids them farewell. He just tells bye to everybody. So what are his plans? What does he do? Night hangs upon mine eyes, my bones would rest, that have but labor to attain this hour. So his body has it has struggled a lot in order to come to this place, but labor to attain this hour means the body has struggled a lot to come to this stage, is what he says. He runs to his own sword. That means he commits suicide and dies as Antony and Octavius arrive. He doesn't want to be taken as captive, so he also commits suicide exactly at the same time when the other army, that is Antony and Octavius, arrive. Antony actually praises Brutus' honor. He knows about Brutus. He talks about how an honorable man, what an honorable man Brutus was. Then Octavius also agrees for this and tells that Brutus would be buried with all respects. So Brutus would be treated like a fine soldier. Okay, so with like very respectfully he would be buried. So this was the summary of Julius Caesar. So hope you have understood this play very well. I want you to go through the play, that is the hard copy of it. Go through this video, read the play, you will understand it better. You will enjoy the wordings that are written by Shakespeare for each and every character. So keep that in mind, go through the text, you will be able to write the answers better. So thank you for your time. Take care. Let us meet again with another more interesting session. So bye-bye. Take care. See you soon.